Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Izzata. I'm a student of Jakarta State University and my major is Education of Official Administration. I want to explain about my research proposal about the effect of self-efficacy, parents' attention, and peer support towards learning motivation. Okay, first of all, I want you to know about my explanation in this prologue. So there are some topics. The first topic is problems background. The second topic is pre-research result. The third topic is problem summary. And the last topic is research purpose. So in the prologue, we have problem background. I will explain the problem's background. We talk about education in Indonesia. So the condition in Indonesia education is go through achievement dropping, especially during pandemic COVID-19 on 2020 until 2021. So from the explanation before, we know that Indonesia is still growing into a better country in any section. But the most important section to be better country is the educational section. Okay, now we talk about education level in Indonesia. The education level of Indonesian people are only dominated with people who graduate from their middle school. So this education level is still being our problem to solve to be a better country. We still have a lot of problem in our education section, so we need to improve our education section to be a better in the future. Okay, next. The next is there is the diagram. The diagram below shows percentage number of highest education that completed by Indonesian people at age 15 years old in 2021. From the diagram, we know that highest education level in Indonesia is in middle school, which is we have 29% of 15 years old students only graduate from their middle school. This data shows that the education section in Indonesia still can compete with another country. Okay, move on into online learning in Indonesia. The online learning during pandemic it spent 2 years, almost 2 years in Indonesia, and then the online study have so many shortage. Okay, online learning has not been implemented optimally because there are still many shortcomings and limitations in the implementation. Not every parents are have enough time to help their children to study at home. So we found the problem. I will talk about the problem. Okay, the first problem is the students still not realize to study and not prepare their lesson well. And then the student not interact each other directly because the online learning at home. And then the environment on their home is not support them to study well. And then there is no control from their teacher to keep them study well. Okay, we move on into the next problem. The next problem is when Indonesia go through limited online learning in any school. In that time, the school have facilitated the student at school, but this learning have a shortcomings too. The shortcomings are the students still adapted with their school environment and their classmates, and the student interaction is still awkward each other because they usually doing online learning at home. Okay, the next problem is when full offline learning. The problem is the student used to learn by online, and there are a few of students who only active while online learning. Okay, from any problem that I solved before, I did free research for testing 30 students at 31 vocational high school to know their problem when they study at home and when they study semi-offline during pandemic. So this is the result. The diagram below is percentage comparison of motivation level on 31 vocational high school at Jakarta. As you can see on the screen, 61% of students don't have a high learning motivation. Okay, in the next slide, I attach some questionnaire from my free research questionnaire. Okay, next, then there is some factor that affect learning motivation. The factors are from internal or external, which affects student learning motivation. As you can see on the previous diagram, the factor that has the lowest percentage is appreciation, with a percentage of 9%, and the second lowest factor is student confidence, with a percentage of 13%. So this shows that main factor that affect on learning motivation of 31 vocational high school students are self-efficacy with a percentage of 43%, and the second is parents' attention with a percentage of 21%, and the last factor is peer support with a percentage of 14%. Okay, this is the problem summary and the research purpose. We will talk about problem summary first. There are some problem summary from all of the problem that I explained before. So the first problem is there any effect of self-efficacy on student learning motivation? And the second problem is there an effect of parental attention on student learning motivation? And the third problem is there any effect of peer support on student learning motivation? Okay, and the last problem is there an effect of self-efficacy, parental attention, peer support on student learning motivation? Okay, we move on into research purpose. So the purpose of this research is, the first purpose is to know about the effect of student self-efficacy on student learning motivation. And then the second purpose is to know the effect of parental attention on student learning motivation. And the third purpose is to know the effect of peer support on student learning motivation. And the last purpose is to know about the effect of self-efficacy, parental attention, and peer support on student learning motivation. Okay, in this part 2, there is literature review. So the literature review is contain the theories, the relevant research result, the theoretical framework, and the last one is hypothesis. Okay, we move on into the theories. I have 4 theories, and each theories explain about each variable on my research. As you can see below, there are some relevant research results. There is 5 relevant research that relate into my research. The research is talk about self-efficacy, student learning motivation, parental attention, and peer support. Okay, this is the theoretical framework. In the description box, you can see independent variable and dependent variable. So the independent variable, the first one is self-efficacy, and the second one is parental attention, and the last one is peer support. While dependent variable is learning motivation. Okay, the next slide is hypothesis. As you can see below, the study has the following hypothesis. The first hypothesis is self-efficacy has an effect on student learning motivation at 31 vocational high school. And the second hypothesis is parental attention effect on student learning motivation at 31 vocational high school. And the third hypothesis is peer support effect on student learning motivation at 31 vocational high school. And the last hypothesis is self-efficacy, parental attention, and peer support have an effect on student learning motivation at 31 vocational high school. Okay, so now we will talk about research methodology. The research methodology is contain research place and time, and then used method, and the third is population and sample, and the last one is data analysis technique. Okay, the research place and time, I choose 31 vocational high school. The research is start on February and will end on July 2022. Okay, I use quantitative research method and the collecting data using a questionnaire with a Likert scale model. Okay, the population are all of students in 10th grade at 31 vocational high school. And I use simple random sampling for my sample, and then I'm using the Slovene formula with an error rate of 5% to calculate the sample. Okay, so next there are research instruments. From all of my variable on research, the purpose of this instrument are to measure how high the variable affect in learning motivation. Okay, there is 5 data analysis technique that I use in this research. The first is test requirement analysis. Second one is classic assumption test. And the third one is multiple regression equation. And the fourth is hypothesis testing. And the last one is coefficient of determination analysis. Okay, so now is the end about my presentation. I think enough to explain this research proposal. Thank you for listening to me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.